How are we doing today? Let's see, my server room friends. Who needs Dr. Techno to take a look at them?
I don't feel very well. My user has been using me on various strange networks and traveling with me, plus installing and uninstalling a lot of freeware, and now I don't feel well. I could barely think about the internet. What do you think it could be, Dr. Techno?
Poor Lappy. Is your virus definitions up to date? Here we use the best antivirus out there, ESET. And if your definitions are up to date, while your user travels, it will help to avoid most viruses.
It sure is. My user checks it regularly before joining a new network.
Excellent. So, we can assume it's not a virus, but it still can be a couple of issues. First, let's check your connection to the internet. So let's open up your command prompt by entering CMD into the search bar and start it up. Now we type ping www.google.com-t and we'll watch as the system sends a ping out to the internet and see if any of the pings drop off. After watching them for a little while, we can assume that you can actually ping the internet. Let's try it again with a website you don't visit often. Since we are on the East Coast, I think the Portland Aquarium website would be a good guess. So let's ping that one. Ping www.portlandaquarium.net. And look, we can see the response is slower. So I have the solution for that. Since none of the pings dropped off, it must be just a slowdown. Although it never hurts to flush your DNS cache. You see, on the internet, there are servers that translate numbered IP addresses to domain names. Occasionally, our system's list of these gets a little confusing, and therefore, if you use the command ipconfig /flush DNS, those server lists get clean, and your original choice of DNS server becomes the proper starting point, again getting you cleaner internet travel.
Wow! I can now think a little faster. What's next?
Next, let's see how you are connected to the network internally. We do that by typing ipconfig /r. This shows us all of your network connection information, including your IP address, which is your home address on the network. The subnet mask, which identifies not only what group you belong to internally, but also externally. It identifies your address and your node on the network. The default gateway is the point where your network originates. Then we see some DNS servers identified here, which we just discussed when we flushed the DNS records. And you see here, it tells us whether DHCP is turned on or not. DHCP is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, which is a system that controls who gets assigned what IP address. If DHCP says no here, then we would not do the next steps. But since it isn't an option, let's move on. We can now refresh the DHCP lease and essentially clear all data stuck in memory on the network interface by doing these two commands, ipconfig /release and ipconfig /renew. And voila!
Wow, Dr. Techno, that is a lot to remember.
Oh, come on, Lappy. It's only a few short commands to clear up your network card. ipconfig /r to get all data, ipconfig /release to quit your current network connection, ipconfig /renew to establish a new connection, and ipconfig /flush DNS to clear your DNS cache and start with a new network connection.
My internet still feels a little slow. What other little tricks can we do to make the internet connection healthier so I can get back to business?
Well, let's take a look, Lappy. Firstly, does your user use Internet Explorer for all of his internet experience?
Why, yes, he does. Why?
Well, Lappy, Internet Explorer is the slowest of all the browsers. Sometimes you have to use Internet Explorer for certain pieces of software on the internet. But if you want a faster experience, definitely use Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox instead, and make sure you uninstall all toolbars. They really serve no true purpose and just slow down your browsing. So let's get you running on a toolbar-free Google Chrome browser. How does that feel?
That feels great, Dr. Techno. I almost feel new again.
Well, there is only a couple more little tasks to do. First, we go to your search bar and type in defrag, and then click on the disk defragmenter and run that. While that's running and fixing up those issues in your hard disk caused by creating and deleting and installing and uninstalling software which creates fragments of data on your hard disk, I will go make myself a cup of noodles and eat lunch. It takes a little while for the defragmenter to finish, but I'm sure you will feel much better afterwards. So, Lappy, are you all done defragging?
I sure am, and I feel great.
This is terrific, Lappy. That means no malware. Just needed to be freshened up. So go ahead and get back to work. And remember, after all that traveling and installing and uninstalling all those strange networks, just a few commands and some already existent software in your operating system can make you feel much better. If you are still slowing down, make sure you use your antivirus or a tool called Malwarebytes and see if you have malware. If you do, and the software can remove it, or if you don't, and you still feel slow, just call in
Captain Pinnadyne!
Remember everyone, when in doubt, reboot, and save often. Happy computing!